across the country, across the United States of America. And I'm, by the way, chairwoman of the National Election Integrity Caucus, so I'm working with.
How's that going for you?
Oh, I can't wait to share with you.
I can't wait for you to share with me.
We have a lot of catching up to do.
I'll buy you dinner after.
But what I want to tell you is it's happened all over the entire country, and we the people are rising up and taking back school boards. You know, that's where I believe the evil was infiltrating.
No doubt.
Indoctrinating our kids.
No doubt.
Parents had no idea what was being fed to their kids. And you know, COVID was awful. But I always try to find the silver lining in everything. And what COVID did is it forced parents to see what their kids
Open
were
their
actually
eyes.
reading, what they're seeing, what they're viewing. And the parents they're saying, wait, what? What are you reading? What are you looking at? Now, I like to think I'm a little advanced of my time. I homeschooled for 8 years. Many years ago, I saw this encroachment of indoctrination that was taking place in our public schools across the country. And I left corporate America. I left that to come home and homeschool our kids who are all now in their 20s and grown. So I like to think I was a little ahead of my time, but I'm all about school choice. And so
Yes.
is Governor-elect Glenn Youngkin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I'm going to be pushing as a member of the transition team on education. We need to increase the number of charter schools we have, increase school choice, let the money follow the child, take the politics out of our education system, eliminate CRT. I call it government-sponsored racism because that's what it is. It is government-sponsored racism. Let's teach our kids reading, writing, arithmetic. And what about real history?
History.
Real history.
Good
Real
and
history.
bad. Because
Right.
there's a lot of both.
Well, yes, there
Good
is.
and bad.
And what they have
Good
done
and
is the left, I call it the bubble wrap generation. You know, they want to bubble wrap the kids and only teach them the sanitized version of history, and that's not true. And as a result, we end up repeating ourselves. Let me tell you what I'm going to do about it, because I'm all about action and not about words. So let's talk about the legislation that I've already drafted. In the Senate, unlike the House, we have a limit of 40 bills that we can draft. 40. Of the 40, I can only submit 25. So we're in the process of drafting legislation. But what I can do is categorize it into several different categories for you. And I'll go with my top 4. The number one issue, in my opinion, is election integrity. And it's one of the things that I invested a lot of time, energy, and effort on since the convention is election integrity. And I have a slew of bills, which I'll just generally kind of brief you on. Number 1, a return to voter ID.
Yes.
You have to have a legitimate, valid photo ID in order to vote. Not one from California, which the Democrats changed the law to accept them from California. It's
Or anywhere,
unbelievable.
moon.
Anywhere. So we're gonna fix that. We're gonna make sure that the identification is not expired and that it's from the Commonwealth of Virginia. You can't just use a utility bill anymore. You have to have an actual picture ID. And if they call that racist, well then so is getting the COVID shot, because you have to show a photo ID to get a library book or to get a COVID shot. So we're gonna go back to making sense. Does that mean that our banks are racist too, because they ask for photo ID, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. It should be a bipartisan issue that we restore photo identification. Now let me tell you what I'm thinking about on the mail-in ballots. That should be completely, I'm gonna be careful what I say here, because there's always an exception to everything. We need to majorly reduce, if not eliminate, the number of mail-in ballots that come in, because that is where the opportunity for maladministration and all types of shenanigans to take place. We saw that in Arizona, which, as you all know, I traveled to Arizona, not only for the audit, where I actually saw firsthand the audit being taken place, and then came back and sat there in the Senate gallery in Arizona and actually listened to them present the results from a full forensic audit, which, by the way, I will be calling for. I have that in a bill to call for a full forensic audit. full forensic audit. Not just a risk limiting audit, but a full forensic audit. That is the only way, and I hear John Reed on WRBA in the Richmond area saying, I just haven't seen the audit. I haven't seen anybody to present to me the hardcore facts in Virginia. Well, yeah, you give me an audit and I'll give you the evidence. But until we get a full forensic audit, we're only going to be able to rely on the evidence that we saw in Arizona, where we saw actual files deleted before they were given to Doug Logan and the audit team of Cyber Ninjas. They were tasked by the Arizona State Senate with going through and finding evidence of fraud. That's what we need to do in Virginia. And listen, I'm going to need your help on Jackson, Lee, whatever day it is now, Martin Luther King Day, Jingleheimer Schmidt, right? That Monday where all your kids are off, y'all need to show up with your sons. We're organizing a statewide rally. Come with your peaceful homemade signs saying audit Virginia, save America. Because if we don't know what happened in Virginia, which I think I have an idea based on what I saw in Arizona, and in fact, my legislation that I've crafted addresses what I saw in Arizona. But I hear symptoms of it here in Virginia. I'm trying to be proactive. So let's go back to mail-in ballots. You should actually have a notarized ballot. And there should be a matching signature on file with the State Board of Elections. Thank you. I don't hear that very often.
Good idea.
But we need to make sure that when people are voting by mail, that we ensure that that person's vote is not taken for granted, that it's not maladministration. We've seen all the different types of things that happened with mail-in ballots. The post office is left to have to interpret, whether there's a date that's stamped on that envelope or not. It just introduces so many moving pieces when you have a mail-in ballot. And my goodness, we have 45 days to vote. No, I'm all for shortening it, but let's just say we leave it at 45 days to give people convenience. There is no reason you cannot vote in person. I can't even think of a very good reason why you could not vote. You would need to vote, not do it in person. Right?
Years ago, they would ride 3 days on a horse to vote, and now people that further than walking to their mailbox think it's too much effort. It's the most important thing in the country.
And I equate a vote to money, and I equate the election system to your banking system. And there is no way that anyone in America who understands the Postal Service would intentionally trust their ballot to the Postal Service. And listen, I'm sure that there's someone in here that works for the Postal Service, and God bless you, you're doing the best you can, but the Postal Service has a reputation for not delivering things as they should on time, and they've even let us know right before the election that they're going to be particularly slow. So why would you trust them with your ballot? I have said drop dead date of election night, 7 o'clock. All ballots must be in. Not waiting 3 days, 5 days after the election, not looking at, when it's postmarked, none of that. It is your job, it is your responsibility as a voter to make sure that your ballot gets there by 7 o'clock on election day. And I always say if it's important to you, you'll make a way. If not, you'll make an excuse. I use that all the time.
But their pension plan is fully funded for the first time in 40 years.
And why are they exempt from vaccine mandates then?
Well,
We're fighting an uphill battle, because that's, to me, says
We're gonna get to that.
corruption.
We're gonna get to that. Let me tell you about that. We're gonna talk about that in the legislation that I'm actually introducing. And I've got 33 bills that I've drafted. We're talking about election integrity bills. We're talking about bills that are gonna push back against the mask and vaccine mandates. And then I've got a whole slew of legislation that's going to address pushing back against the Second Amendment rights. And then I have a bunch of bills, and one big bill that I know that our governor-elect is gonna support that will keep our veterans here, because it's gonna exempt their retirement benefits from state income tax. So those are up to $40,000, and we're actually working on that language. So those are the four general themes. I've got another bill where I wanna make sure that we don't have a king put in place, that we wanna make sure that there's an executive order that after 30 days, that it goes before the General Assembly, the people that you elect. No one single person should be making long-term decisions, and come on in, good to see you. We should never, ever, ever, in our country, in our state, ever, you go ahead and sit there, I'm running my mouth, so you go ahead and sit.
I think we got a couple of seats. Take your seat.
Sorry.
So we should,
People don't get it. You come on.
you know, so we should never, ever have to rule under executive order. What they've done is they've totally bypassed the legislature. And you know, that's the reason we have checks and balances. We have the judicial system, we have the executive branch and the legislative branch, which the executive branch likes to forget about. So we're gonna make sure that we restore the rule of law, that we fully fund our law enforcement.
Yes.
That we restore law and order. And I know that Glenn has already talked about replacing the members of the parole board and taking care of those issues that we talked about during the election. But those are the general themes that I'm gonna be talking about this coming session. So I want you to remember election integrity, pushing back against mask mandates and vaccine mandates. Eliminate, let me just stop right there and just say, y'all know where I stand on these issues, right? Because I'm the senator that didn't have had a plexiglass wall built around me because I refused to wear a mask. I mean, if you don't stop there, where does it end?
It doesn't.
It won't end.
It doesn't.
Where does it end?
It's up.
And for me, yes, I do have a medical condition, and yes, I can't wear a mask, period. But I also think about whether I did or not, I would still want the freedom to choose for myself and my family and my loved ones. I know domestic violence survivors who have been choked, and just the very thought of having anything on their face is unconscionable to them. They can't do it. We have to remember that a one-size-fits-all approach is never going to work with Americans. We like to be given a choice. Educate us, but ultimately let us make those decisions. Don't use our place of employment and make us choose between putting food on the table and our health. And who are they to mandate? I got into a little disagreement with CNN when I was doing an interview at the Capitol. She wanted to argue about scientists. I said, my scientists will take your scientists any day. Any day of the week. Whether we're talking about
Thousands of them.
well, and I also have a bill that allows doctors to be doctors. And no matter what type of therapeutic your governor decides on, no bureaucrat, federal, state, or local, should say, no, you can't have that. They should never say, no, you can't have ivermectin, or no, you cannot have hydroxychloroquine. That's my doctor's choice and my choice. Yet we have, I can cite off example after example of friends of mine who are doctors in Chesterfield County who her husband passed away, and she's a doctor. And she said, give my husband ivermectin. And the hospital said no. Our protocol here in the hospital is we're going to give remdesivir. And people are dying. We need to allow doctors to do what doctors feel is best for their people and take the politics out of medicine. And that's what I'm going to do with my bill. It's going to empower your doctor, and I've got a whole team of doctors that I'm working with and their attorneys who are going to help me to fight this in the General Assembly for you and for us. And I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about vaccines. Some people are choosing to get the vaccine. I've chosen not to get the vaccine. It's my body, my choice, right? And it's your body and your choice. And educate yourself. And listen, you're not going to find it in the mainstream media. You're just not. There are doctors who are trying to tell you the truth and the facts. And we need to do our best to try to educate ourselves. And unfortunately, sometimes you're going to have to go to some of the alternate social media accounts in order to find those, because anytime, I can't even talk about my bills on Facebook, or I'm violating community standards. Shoot, when I went to even try to share my Amanda Chase for Congress website, that was considered a community violation, just because of my name. And so, you know, a lot of you all, I understand your frustration, because you're like, why am I not hearing about your bills? Social media shuts me down every time. You know what happened, right? They completely deleted my Senator Amanda Chase Facebook page. Completely deleted. I have a personal page, which they completely shadow ban and suppress. But anytime I talk about vaccines, anytime I talk about election integrity, you know, anything that's important to the people, they shut me down. So I encourage you to go to my website, and currently it's AmandaChaseForCongress.com. Apparently I've already won, so spammer is gone. So we'll probably
No, Kane's pretty tough, and John McGuire is the hardest
Well, it's
working
gone.
politician in the Republican
But it's
Party.
gone. If you look at the laws they just came out
I've
with
looked at
Wednesday.
it briefly,
It's gone.
and there's still court battles to be fought.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it's not over yet,
Now, we're
but,
still spending money.
so,
They fight it
so I will
before.
just say this, follow me either by going to chaseforsenate.com, the number 4, or go to AmandaChaseForCongress.com. And I would just also ask while we're there, I am a grassroots candidate. So if you like what I'm doing, you like that I'm fighting, you know, grassroots candidates are like, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna vote with you, I'm gonna vote for you. But I want you to give. Because if you don't give, I can't continue to keep fighting and doing this, because I'm actually getting ready to have to liquidate a van and a bunch of other things, because I'm not playing the pay-to-play games that all the other politicians are. I
The
rely on,
Republican Party does though.
Yeah.
That's why Nick was our choice last time.
yeah.
He's a
And
better fundraiser.
well, it's more than just that. It's,
Good.
you know, if you take money from the PACs and the lobbyists, who are you beholden to? I would love to put in a bill that required legislators to actually put on their, wear a jacket that shows where all their money's coming from. I think we should do that.
That'd be a great
Because
idea.
just because you can raise a lot of
Great
money,
idea.
I don't care if you can raise a lot of money, I wanna know where your money's from. You would be surprised at where people's money is from. What I will tell you, in my governor's race, we raised almost $1 million, and it was all $25, $100 from we the people, not one dime from PACs, not one dime from lobbies. We've done that with my congressional race as well. So I just encourage you, you know, I know you guys like a fighter, and I just appreciate your support. So please go to AmandaChaseForCongress.com. You know, make a donation there, and I'm just going to open up at this point for any questions that you all may have. I'll do my best to answer for you. But what kind of questions do you guys have?
I'm sorry.